Hi there, I'm Cynthia Lyerly. I am Harrison Lyerly's mother, and I'm going to be talking to you today about a connective tissue disorder called Marfan Syndrome. I'll tell you a little bit of the history behind it. Our third child, Aiden, this is Harrison's younger brother, he's 13 years old, appeared to be having some growth issues, so I took him to a doctor called a gastroenterologist. It's pretty much a doctor that deals with all of your digestive issues. And I wanted to get him checked out for something called celiac disorder, which is a gluten intolerance. So while we were there at the doctor, and he was examining Aiden, he noticed Aiden's little chiclet-sized teeth, and he brought up an issue called a connective tissue disorder called Marfan Syndrome. And that's when I began to want to do more research about it. So I came home, looked up online Marfan Syndrome. I'd never heard of it before. And so I began to look into different connective tissue disorders, and this Marfan syndrome really stuck out because I appeared to have a lot of symptoms. One of the big ones for me was when I was about 20 years old. I had something called the detached retina. That's where the retina, which is in the back part of your eye, which is important for seeing, started coming off, which I didn't know. I just knew I was losing my peripheral vision. At 20 years old, I'd never had any head trauma. People with detached retinas usually have some kind of head trauma, or they're really old, and I was neither. And I just knew I was losing my peripheral vision, and I had to go into emergency surgery and have a buckle put on the bottom of my eye so that now I can see 20/20, and praise the Lord, I did not lose any of my vision. Anyway, that's one of the symptoms of Marfan syndrome. Another one is when you're really tall, like I am. I'm 5'10", which is unusual because my parents are not overly tall. My brother is not really tall either. He's about the same size that I am. People with Marfan syndrome tend to have where their wingspan is is longer than their legs, than their legs and their height. So mine is close. I did go and have myself checked out by a doctor about that, where we measured. Mine was close. Another issue with Marfan syndrome is your aorta. So I went to a heart doctor. I've been having heart murmurs ever since I can remember, and everyone I've talked to, they've said that you really should go and have it checked out. So I went and had, I'm not that old. I'm in good shape. I exercise, but I thought I better check it out anyway. So I went and had what's called an echocardiogram, where they did an ultrasound of my heart. Because with Marfan syndrome, because it has to do with your connective tissues throughout your entire body, that they're weakened, and so your aorta, because that's the vessel that receives the most pressure with the blood, can be weakened. And so I wanted to be sure that mine was okay, since I knew I was having heart palpitations. So I had the echocardiogram, and I had a stress test, and all that was fine. So, and then another thing with Marfan's, my veins, I appear to have a lot of varicose veins, with all of your connective tissues being weaker. I don't have as good muscle tone as a lot of other people do. So, and then, there's just a lot of other things that I appear to have. But with Marfan syndrome, it's not one of those kinds of things where you can go and take a blood test necessarily. One of your options is to go to Emory and go meet with a geneticist, and they can do a whole battery of tests with your genes and tell you definitively if you have Marfan's. I have not opted to do that because what I've read is that even if they find out you have Marfan's, all they really do is just make sure that you're at the different doctors, like the cardiologist and the eye doctor in different places, because all you can really do is just monitor your symptoms. So I'm at peace knowing that my heart is fine. The eye doctor that I go to, he was the one 20 years ago who caught my detached retina syndrome. There is no definitive cure. You just manage your symptoms. But the doctors are not 100% sold. But for me, the biggest thing that I worry about with Marfan's, the biggest red flag was my detached retina, because they did not have any explanation why someone in good health. Now I have severe nearsightedness, but there was no head trauma. I know if you get hit in the head, get hit in the eye, I'm still going to be on alert with my heart, you know, I probably will go to the cardiologist from time to time, like maybe every couple of years to monitor my aorta. And then I also need to keep an eye on my son Aiden, because the doctor, he's the first one to actually tell me that his teeth, he's got these tiny, tiny little teeth, that might be a precursor. It might be a warning that he might have Marfan's also. So, but the biggest thing for me is that aorta, just making sure that my aorta is in good shape and it's not stretched out. Because what can happen with your aorta is that if it's weak, and that's where all that pressure, you know, from your heart pumping, is that you can just die instantaneously for no reason, because the muscle is just really weak. So that's how, just need to be diligent and have good doctors. And okay, so that's about it. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.